Hello guys, so for today's challenge, your goal is to take a beautiful reflection photo. And over here behind me I have some puddles that I'm going to use as a medium to take beautiful reflection shots. And as you can see, as I get lower down, I start to, this reflection starts to begin to emerge in this sort of puddle. So your goal is basically to find a puddle or to find a body of water. Maybe you're by the sea, or if you don't have a puddle, you can always actually create your own puddle by just getting a bottle of water and pouring it over on the surface. That's not going to completely suck up the water, otherwise you'll need like hundreds of bottles of water. So try and find a surface where you can pour some water on and actually start practicing reflection photography. So reflection photography is one of the best techniques out there. It's super easy to do, and it's a really creative and engaging process that I think you're actually going to fall in love with. You probably didn't realize that you could do this with your mobile, but you can get an absolutely amazing reflection shots with your mobile phone. So for example, if I were to just show you some shots here in my gallery before that I took here. So for example, here I took, with a person walking past, black and white, really nice sort of silhouette there, using ultra wide. Here's another one. Then I had some shots here with at the beach here, with the sun going down. So really nice sort of shots. Then I had here with some girls dancing around from Hare Krishna, and I basically flipped the photo afterwards to get this really nice cool effect. So that's another thing that you can do with reflection shots to really improve the photos and sort of make them more engaging. Here's another one by the sea, by the coast, with these three birds sort of lining up, and here's another one, and here's another one, more of a dark silhouette. So you can take some really amazing shots, and there's lots of different types of reflective surfaces you can find and use for your photography. And all you need to do basically is just play with the framing and follow a few simple guidelines and rules. And again, they're all just guidelines and rules, so be free to explore with yourself. But in terms of the sort of basic rules I'm going to show you, the first thing you want to do is actually you want to get really close down to the lens. You want to get really close down to the water so you get a really nice sort of reflection. And another good suggestion is actually to just to flip the camera of your phone the other way around, so that your lenses are at the bottom of the screen, facing the ground basically, and that way it allows your lenses to get really close down to the water, and this way you can really fill up the frame. You can get a really nice great reflection shot. And you have to remember, reflection photography is basically symmetrical composition in this sort of sense. So you want to really center everything. You don't want to do this, and you don't want to do this. You want to really center that middle with the middle of the frame, and basically use the grid lines and line them up with strong vertical lines like I have with the tower here in the rule of thirds, and basically just wait and take your shots. Maybe you want to cut out this building, play with your framing. Maybe you want to take a shot like this. So really guys, up to you. So that's for you to sort of explore. Maybe you want to get all these buildings in there, so that's another type of shot you could do. So effectively, in terms of a quick summary, you want to basically get your lens really close down to the water, just basically wait for subjects to walk through. So I'm in this area where I've got lots of subjects constantly walking through, and I can even use basically burst mode. I can use other things when people are walking to capture them in the reflection, like let's say I'm doing here, for example. So use different lenses. For example, maybe you want to use the 1x here, and let's try and get the tower in there, see if it fits. I don't want to cut it off, but it could happen that I might just cut it off. So sometimes it doesn't fit. If it doesn't fit, you can always try and use portrait mode. So here we go, and I'm just basically pressing I'm using my both hands now, and I'm just pressing the shutter buttons at the bottom of the phone to actually capture these shots. And another thing you can do is you can use your hand, your fingers, you can tap the water to create these ripples, to add this effect in your reflection, because you don't want your reflection to be a complete complete copy of your image, because that just is going to look weird basically. What's the point of doing that if you want the brain to realize that this is actually a reflection, and when you get that sort of feel in the image, it's a much better image than just a carbon copy reflection. It's perfectly crisp. So one way to do that is to create ripples in the water. Maybe you have some wind whilst you're taking shots. Maybe you can use other elements in the puddle, like I had here. You see these tiles, so I have these sort of strong lines of these tiles, and you can actually see them in the water, and that kind of lets you know that there's something there. It's kind of the ground, right? Especially if I use the ultra wide, and I can position my camera to try and get some of these tiles in there, right? So for example, like this, to make it very, very clear that this is actually a reflection, and by using some elements on the ground. So that's a really, really big tip in terms of making much better reflection shots. Trying to avoid the sort of carbon copies in your shots. And again, if your shot doesn't fit in, you can always use portrait mode like this with the cameras at the bottom, and you can take your shots like this as well. So another good example I have here, I'm going to move back a bit so I can get some of those tiles in there, and this way I can get a more interesting reflection shot. And you don't have to get the entire reflection there. Actually, it's a lot more creative and interesting when it's just a part of reflection. That middle ground there that's cutting off the tower is actually really great, because again, it allows me to see that this is actually a reflection. And if I move to this other puddle over here actually with the 1x lens, the reflection doesn't quite fit in. As you can see there, I'm cutting off I have to really tilt my phone. I can't get a perfectly central horizon shot in there unless I use the ultra wide mode, which let's say I don't want to do in this case. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually use the 1x, and I'm going to just use portrait mode, and that allows me to fit in the entire reflection. And you see those tiles, you can really see the tiles in this shot, which really allows you to distinguish that this is a reflection. And I can use burst mode to get these people sort of walking through, and that's something that you can do. You can just basically set up here and wait, and you see how I have that lovely middle ground there between the building. Again, that allows me to distinguish that this is a reflection shot, and I'm lining up the grid lines with the building, the vertical lines of the building here. So really centering everything and just basically waiting for people to come past. And that's basically, guys, how you take really stunning reflection shots, really making that distinguishing feature that this is a reflection. And maybe by using, maybe by tapping your hand in the water, or doing this, or maybe if it's a windy day, you'll naturally have some ripples in the water. And if you can't find any puddles, guys, you can always just bring a big bottle of water and actually create the puddles yourself. So that's another option. So basically, to sum it up, guys, get your phone lens really close down to the water. Use portrait mode if you can't fit things in. Also, really try and center the horizon and use the grid lines to align with strong vertical lines if you have that in your frame, and just basically wait for subjects to walk through like I have here, and simply take your shots. And make sure also, something as I noticed when you're taking reflection shots, is trying to focus, try and focus your shot. Actually use the, if you tap on the reflection part here, so if I tap and hold my, and lock my focus, basically exposure there, I usually will get better shots, because sometimes what happens is, because you're so close to the ground and to the water, and your lenses are so close, actually sometimes your camera has trouble actually finding where to focus, and sometimes you get these really blurry, horrible reflections. So doing this, locking your focus and exposure, that can really solve that. So just bear that in mind. Usually most of the time you will get good photos without doing this. And don't be afraid to reframe your position. So for example, if I move to this side of the puddle, you see again now I have a completely different view of my reflection shot, and probably even nicer for some people. So don't be afraid to reframe your position and go 360 all around the puddle. That will allow you to get some more different perspectives in your shots. And another thing you can do, sort of last little tip, is if I actually go to the shot, one thing you can do is you can always press edit on the shot, and if I go to filters, and you can always make it black and white, you tend to get really nice shots when you do black and white sort of high contrast photos. They tend to make your reflection shots very nice, clear and crisp, and high contrast really brings out the clarity of sort of your main subject. So if I were to show you before some of the shots that I did here, and I just made them sort of black and white. So here I had just some people basically walking through, and I made it black and white, and I'm always getting this sort of silhouette in the photo. So here again, I just basically, all I did is I turned the photo black and white. So do try and play with that afterwards. Here's another shot that I literally took a screenshot of. So do play around with filters. Here's another one where I had a lot of sun and directional light, and you see how I have, just very quickly here, you see how I have these elements here by the puddle. They really sort of distinguish this is in fact a reflection, like this middle ground here as well, and these very clear dark silhouette subjects being reflected off the bright background of the building. So that's basically what you want to look for in a really good reflection photo. You want to find those elements, make the reflection distinguishing, maybe use high contrast or silhouettes like I have in this case, and that way you'll get some really stunning reflection shots. Here actually I had some people sort of dancing, and you see those little dots in the water again here with the marble. You can really distinguishes that this is a reflection, and that middle ground there as well. So really lovely shots that actually this one I pretty much took by accident. Those girls literally just came around, and I took it by accident. And if you're by the sea at any time, you can always use the puddles by the sea, just by the waterfront, to do the same thing. As the sun is setting, you get very lovely directional light that you can use to take super amazing reflection shots. So that's pretty much it, guys, in this video. Do practice it, do go out there, take some reflection shots in your puddles, use these rules and guidelines, and I'm sure you're gonna get some absolutely amazing reflection shots. So that's pretty much it, guys, in this video. Follow the rules and guidelines and post your photos, and I'll see you for the next day's challenge.
So if you have one of the latest Samsungs and you want to learn how to take better photos with your phone, then join this photography course below, where I'm going to show you the main rules and guidelines, the powerful techniques that all great photographers use so that you can take better photos. It's going to be really easy to follow this system that I've created, that I've spent 2 years making, and I'm going to show you exactly how to take better photos by giving you direct camera screen recordings from my phone, so you can follow exactly what I'm doing. Now, I guarantee you, by the end of this course, you're going to be able to take better photos. And if not, you can have your money back. So click on the link below. There's a huge discount for the course today, and I'll see you guys on the other side.